Good evening, friends. I hope this video finds you well. Today, I'm just going to be giving a short description of my research project, which explores the Americanization of Christianity in America. And essentially, my argument or my thesis is that a combination of the Second Great Awakening and the harsh conditions on the American frontier caused some practices in Christianity to change. And the result of this was a type of Christianity that one could describe as American. So essentially in this project, it's split up into three different parts. Part one, I explore and explain European Christianity in colonial America. Essentially, I describe how the theology that was brought over the Atlantic into the New World was heavily influenced by European tradition. And so some of the things that I include are sermons preached at the time. A lot of the secondary sources explain the effect of how this religion, or what effect this religion had on society, and how a lot of the governments that were set up at the time by like Presbyterians, Puritans, Quakers, Anglicans, so on and so forth, how their society was really centered around theology, and that's how they governed themselves, by their own type of theology. And I kind of explain the problems that this created, and why it essentially assisted in this shift of Christianity. The second part, I essentially go into the conditions of the frontier to kind of describe why revival was needed in the West. Revival was needed in the West because communities were small. There weren't too many gathering places, because the open frontier, the American frontier, was just this vast openness of nothingness. And a lot of the people who settled on the American frontier were uneducated farmers, so they weren't necessarily fit to lead churches. And then the second part, I describe the need of revival in the East, which essentially that was needed for several reasons, but one was because of the one that I really focus on is because of the Revolution, and how a lot of ministers and prominent churches were loyalists. And so by the end of the war, a lot of prominent parts of America were found ministerless. And then finally, I conclude with the Second Great Awakening, and how this revival event really fit the needs that both the East and the West had in order for revival to occur. And the result of this is a type of Christianity that one could describe as American, and no longer was European, or essentially that's what I argue, at least. And so a lot of the content that I provide in this are sermons preached from the early colonial days up until the Second Great Awakening. I discuss campfires, circuit riders, and that sort of thing, and how those things contributed to this shift, contributed to this shift in Christianity in America. And so I essentially conclude the paper, my final argument being that revival was needed in America for several reasons, both in the East and in the West, and that the Second Great Awakening fit those needs, and the participants of this revival did some revolutionary things that had not been done before, that were not specific to the East or to the West, but it was just this all big one event. The reason that I argue this is mainly because a lot of the early literature written in the early 20th century really focuses just on the frontier, and the central arguments made in those types of books are that the frontier was the reason why Christianity was able to Americanize, which the frontier did play a part, but it was just a small part that was a part of a bigger event. So thank you for watching this video. Good luck on all of your projects, and thank you for helping me power through this. Y'all have a wonderful night.